Hello, how's it going? I'm going to talk about the songs from my most recent album, Orpheus of the Midnight Kitchen. I'm going to go through and just talk about how I wrote each of them and how they came to be. And, I don't think any of you care about this, but here I go anyway. And before I forget, I should mention that this video is brought to you by Songwriting with Isto, an 8-week online class on songwriting. You can sign up at the Jalopy Theater's website. There's a link down below. So Orpheus of the Midnight Kitchen. I put it out about a year ago. A lot of the songs were written during the height of the pandemic. There's been a bit of a pandemic. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's been kind of rough on some folks. And anyway, I continued to write a bunch of songs. A lot of these songs were written with the children in the room. I was taking care of kids and playing the piano. I had 2 kids at the time. Now I've got 3. But yeah, while I was writing a lot of these songs, there might have been a little toddler walking around, and then another kid, a slightly older kid, like drawing pictures in the other room, that sort of thing. And I'd be at the piano making up these songs. So yeah, that kind of sets the scene for how a lot of these were written. The first song here on the album was not written during that time period. For Ellen, 9/27/17. That was written, I think, maybe during the week before 9/27/17. But that's my wife's birthday, so I wrote that one for her birthday that year. And I wrote that was a little instrumental guitar piece, and I wrote that one during a period soon after I moved to Newark, New Jersey. I was still teaching everybody. All my students were still in New York, and so I'd take the train in and I'd go and teach everybody, and sometimes I'd have these little gaps in my schedule, and I'd find myself with a couple extra hours to spare at the Jalopy Theater, where I teach a lot of the time. And at one point during the year of 2017, I decided, I have like an hour or 2 here. I should sit down and just write some guitar instrumentals. So I'd make up these little pieces for the guitar and write them down, and that was one of them. And it was originally a little longer than the version you hear on the album. This version's been edited down, and the reason for that, well, the way I originally wrote it, I kind of had some funny little repetitions in there. I decided to go back and repeat measure 4, and then we'll repeat measure 16, and just I kind of jumbled some things up in the end there, and had some interesting repeats. But I ended up using the piece for a podcast that I was editing about the history of my hometown, Hamilton, New York. So I got asked to edit this podcast to different older people who had stories about Hamilton from a long time ago. They told their stories. That's called Street by Street, and you can find it on the Palace Theater's website. I forget what their website is called, but there are a lot of interesting stories from people from my hometown, and they needed some music for the beginning and the end, and I decided that this piece that I wrote for my wife a few years previous for her birthday, I thought that would work pretty well. It had the right kind of tone, and but it ended up being a little longer than I wanted, so I cut out about a minute of the recording. I had already recorded it a while before, and I edited it down. Edited it down. Yeah, that's what I did. I'll have to edit that too. Let's see, what was I talking about here? Oh yeah, we'll have to edit this down too. But yeah, so I ended up using a shorter version of it, and then I decided I kind of liked it shorter. The rest of the stuff kind of felt a little much, and I liked the shorter version. So I decided to throw that on as the first track on this new album, Orpheus of the Midnight Kitchen. So that's the first track. I could tell you more about it. I should sit down and learn how to play it again. I've got it written down somewhere, but I don't really remember how to play it. I think it was in drop D tuning, if I remember correctly, and has some deceptive cadences, and I think it has some pretty chords, I'd say. Pretty little melody. I was happy with how that one turned out. So then the second track, the Flintstones Vitamin Song. So I wrote that at some point in 2020 or 2021, I forget when, and the first line came to me: "The Flintstones now are gone, but they live on as multivitamins." And I thought, yeah, so the idea there, You know, kids today, they don't really know who the Flintstones are. They don't watch the Flintstones, but the Flintstones vitamins, they're still around. They're showing no signs of disappearing. They're still I think they're still the most popular children's multivitamin. You know, so it's kind of funny. The Flintstones, they're a thing of the past, but those multivitamins, they live on. And yeah, so I went on and wrote the song, and I was really delighted when I got to rhyme Yabba Dabba Doo with the Great Gazoo. I was really happy when I found that rhyme. I was like, oh yeah, Yabba Dabba Doo, the Great Gazoo, perfect. And I tried to write it, or I went about writing it in sort of a I think the sort of musically what I was going for was one of those 1960s Sinatra songs where he's singing a recently translated European popular song, like I'm thinking of things like Summer Wind, Strangers in the Night, My Way, a few songs from like that time period. They've got a certain kind of thing going on in them, and I think I was thinking, oh, I'll set these words to that kind of music, and that'll be kind of silly and kind of a strange juxtaposition, and I'll sing it like really seriously, but then I put some. I mean, I think the message of the song is kind of serious, but it's also, I'm using kind of silly subject matter. I've been writing a lot of songs the past few years that deal with mortality and the things that we leave behind us, and I don't know. I guess that sort of thing's been on my mind, perhaps since having children. Maybe my mind has gone off in that direction since having children. But yeah, anyway, Flintstones Vitamin Song. I tried a few recordings of it, just kind of playing it more straight, more an acoustic guitar, kind of jazzy kind of thing maybe. But then I thought, oh, it'll sound cooler if I play the electric guitar and like give it a little bit more of a beat. So I think I gave it a little bit. I mean, it's just me and a guitar, but I think I tried to make it a little heavier, try to make it rock a little more. But an interesting thing about that one is the sound effects. So I think I decided that I should end the song with a sound effect of Fred Flintstone running away. I thought that would fit pretty well, but I wasn't sure about those Hanna-Barbera sound effects. I think I'm not totally sure about their copyright status. I think there's some. I don't really know how copyright works with sound effects, and it seems like that's an interesting thing that I wasn't too sure about, and I decided I wasn't going to risk anything by just using the Hanna-Barbera sound effects, so I thought, I should try to do it myself. And I looked it up, and I read that sound effect was created by a bongo player playing a leather couch, and he played a leather couch like a bongo, and I thought, that's interesting. Well, I don't have a leather couch, but I've got a fake leather couch. I wonder how that'll work. And I don't have the couch anymore. That was it was an old one that was here when we moved in, and now it's out. It was put out on the curb a while ago, but I guess it could be a collector's item now. But I tried playing that like a bongo. Made a recording just on my phone. I had one of those smartphones and I just recorded myself playing the couch like a bongo, and I listened to it and I thought, by George, that sounds just like Fred Flintstone running away. So it worked, and I thought that was pretty cool, and I put that in there. And also at the time, my next door neighbor seemed to have acquired a rooster. There was a period of a few weeks there where my next door neighbor seemed to have a rooster, and you'd hear a rooster there in the morning and throughout the day. You'd hear the rooster, and I thought that was kind of nice. I think some people might have liked it a little less than I did, but I kind of liked having a next door neighbor with a rooster. But I made sure to get a recording of that, and then I thought, oh, you know what? That'll sound really good right before the sound effect of Fred Flintstone running away. So I just put them together, and I thought that worked pretty well. And yeah, I thought it was kind of neat having that coming right after that guitar instrumental, and I thought that was a nice way to open the album. And then going into the next song, How Do You Throw Away a Garbage Can? So how do you throw away a garbage can? I think I've been playing with those words for a year or so before the song came together. I had a whole lot of the lines that are in the song. If you only heard it once, you might not have noticed all the words in there, because it's mostly how do you throw away a garbage can repeated, but there are some other verses in there. Um, and yeah, they were kind of I wasn't sure what order all the words were going to go in, and it was kind of a song that I had just kicking around. But then I was watching Get Back, and so the first time I watched the Beatles' Get Back, when that came out, there's a part, I think in the second episode or maybe the third, where Billy Preston's electric piano needs to be tuned, I guess, and George Harrison says, "How do you tune an electric piano?" And then John Lennon starts singing, "How do you tune an electric piano?" He just like makes up a silly melody. He just sings that line once, and I thought, that kind of reminds me of my "How do you throw away a garbage can" thing that I was working on. I should finish that song. So the next day I finished the whole thing, put it together, and recorded it. And my student had recently, one of my students had recently given me the Moog Werkstatt, this little Moog this little Moog synthesizer that makes all kinds of fun, crazy sounds, and I just like threw a whole bunch of that onto the recording. Just kind of doesn't really. It's just a bunch of just kind of fun noise going on there, but I liked the way that sounded. I was glad to get to use that on that track, and yeah, there was one line that I struggled with for a while. There was so who coordinates the arbiters of taste? Who polices the police? Who ratifies the laws of physics? And I was really looking for a fourth one. I never found a fourth one that I liked quite that fit into that set of three lines as well. But I ended up with who puts the sun back in the east, which I thought was another good question that kind of went with those ones. And it felt nice. It kind of felt nice to close off the thing with that. It just kind of sends you back to the beginning. Who puts the sun back in the east? And just felt right. But anyway, I like that series of questions there. And yeah, so I finished the song, brought it upstairs, played it for my wife and kids. It was one that they liked right away. And then my wife said something. I forget how the conversation went exactly, but it was decided very quickly that I should go down and add a spoken word section in which I explained how to throw away a garbage can in an official sort of PSA kind of way. So I went back down and recorded that and added it back and added that in, and it was sort of a bridge. And that was that added another layer to the thing. Anyway, I liked the way that one turned out. And then I had an idea for a music video right away. I was like, I'll just go out and try to throw away a garbage can, and I think I can do that for 4 minutes in black and white and a tuxedo, and I went out there, and it took exactly the right amount of time on the first take. And these things, that sometimes they just happen right. I don't know why. Anyway, and now I've made $1 million off that song. No, haven't made $1 million off it, but I like the way it turned out. So then the next one, I've got The World at My Door. That's the next song on the album, and that's another one where I had a lot of words and parts of the song kind of floating around. I had them written down somewhere, and on another occasion I happened to just open them up and was like, I want to work on that. I'll move these around. All right, now there's the song. So a lot of the time for me, songwriting is like that. They're kind of like these two stages. There's the one part where you have the ideas and you write them down, and here's another idea, here's another idea. And then the other part is where you actually go and move those pieces around, figure out how they work together, and put a whole song together. Sometimes that all happens at once. Sometimes you just sit down and you have all the ideas and then you put them together. But other times, they might be years apart, or they might you might spend a really long time working on the first part, just getting all the ideas, or you might spend a lot of time working on the second part. But in the case of this song, it was I don't even really remember coming up with a lot of the lines. I think I had most of the lines in a Word file on my computer, and I don't even really remember coming up with most of them. But I was like looking for songs to work on. I was like, I like these. I could work on them, and I was inspired by this set of words I'd come up with, and I decided as kind of the backbone for the song, I would do this. So I did. I've got the world at my door. If I should ever care to see it, I've got the world at my if you get the idea there, but I just took the chords for "Don't Think Twice, It's All Right," and I just played it as a fingerstyle thing, just like how people might play that song, and I used that to put the song together, just knowing that I would change it later. You know, I might not have even been singing the melody at that point. I might have just been, "I got the wolves at my door." I forget if I had the melody at that point, but I used it to figure out like kind of what order I'd put all these lines in, and then I took the same music, but I decided I was going to jazz it up a little bit, change the chords. The melody is already different enough from that song that I thought the melody was fine, but I had to change the backing part, or it would just sound like a ripoff of that song. So I changed it to "I've got the world at my door." If I can remember this. If I could ever see it, I've got the world at my door, but I don't ever seem to need it. Everything I own is right in here. So it's kind of a open up the fridge and grab yourself a beer. It's kind of the same. It's like taking those chords but jazzing them up so they're, I don't know. To me, it didn't even seem recognizable as the same song. It kind of feels like a gospel tune maybe, or a jazz tune. So a couple of the changes I made, I switched for the second chord. I did this 5 of 6 chord. I've got the world at my door, which sounds pretty different from I've got the world at my door. And then I also like this is a chord I threw in there. So it's a dominant 7 on the 2 chord with a flat 5. I kind of like that in there. I turned instead of just doing a 1 and then a dominant 7th on the 1 and then a 4, I did this jazzier thing where it's a 1 and then a 5 chord turned into the 2 chord, 2, 5, 1. So it's a 2, 5, 1 go into the 4 chord, if that makes sense. But yeah, I jazzed up the chords a little bit, made it different, and yeah, I was happy with how that one turned out too. I think that's just as a song, that's probably one of my favorite songs on the album. At the end, I was trying to think of a good line to end it with, and I ended up borrowing a line from Edgar Allan Poe. What's that line? But till then so my line is, "Till then these weary legs shall be lifted nevermore. I've got the world at my door." But the last line of the Raven, I forget what it is. This body motionless on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. So I borrowed that line. So here's a lesson. Go memorize a poem right now, because I memorized the Raven for 6th grade English class, or maybe 7th grade English class, and it came in really handy when I was writing this song, like, because that line just popped into my head. Shall be lifted nevermore. Oh yeah, like that's a good way to end the line, end the song. But just about a year before I was writing this song, I was working on the song "When the Ice Worms Nest Again," and there's this line that I wanted to change in that line, in that song, because it starts with traditionally the first line is, "There's a husky dusky maiden in the Arctic," and I thought I can't sing that line. I need to change that. That's not a good line to sing. And I thought, what? There's a something something maiden in the Arctic, and I thought, I know, there's a rare and radiant maiden in the Arctic, which is also a phrase from the Raven, rare and radiant maiden. So that just having memorized the Raven a couple decades before, I was able to bring those words into 2 separate songs that I was working on. So yeah, go memorize a poem and it'll pay off later. And yeah, thank you, Ms. Laura, for having me memorize the Raven back in 7th grade. So that's I've Got the World at My Door. The next song is Take Me to the Movies. So Take Me to the Movies, I came up with this song, I think towards the end of working on this album. I was I did a video of C is for Cookie, and I had fun making that video. That was a fun one to do, and I liked how that one turned out. And I thought, man, I'll never write a song as good as C is for Cookie. It's just a perfect song. And then I thought, well, maybe I should try to write a song like that one. And this one didn't turn out as good as C is for Cookie, but I kind of like this one too. But I was thinking, what else could I write a song about like C is for Cookie? What else could I write something that simple about and get that excited about? I tried to think of something other than food, because I'm always writing these songs about food, and I could write a song about sandwiches and get excited about sandwiches, but I thought that might have been too derivative of the Cookie song. But then I thought, going to the movies, that's another thing that I get excited about, going to the movies. So I wrote this. So I wrote, nothing beats going to the movies, nothing beats going to the movies, nothing beats going to the movies, take me to the movies right now, take me to the movies, take me to the movies, take me to the movies right now. And I thought, oh, that's kind of it's about as simple as C is for Cookie. And then I plugged my arrangement of C is for Cookie into this new song. So the version of C is for Cookie that I did this Creedence Clearwater Revival style version of it, where I start out with like I play an E7 with a tremolo effect on it, and it sounds like a CCR song, but then I get big with it and I scream and I start banging my head, and so I did the same thing with this song. And yeah, that's where that one came from. The next song, Tumbling Tupperware. So I think that this song is a really another pretty autobiographical one. I guess I wrote it about a year ago. My third child was on his way, and I was staying up late every night doing dishes and doing all the laundry and dishes until late at night. And yeah, I think I would watch movies while doing the dishes, and I guess I spent a lot of time staying up late doing the dishes. And what else is there to say about it than that? That's what I was doing at that time. It doesn't really sound that interesting when I say it out loud. But I had this cabinet where the Tupperware is always falling out. I think probably a lot of people can relate to that. And you're doing the dishes and you go to put some Tupperware away, and a whole bunch of Tupperware falls out. And I got this phrase, tumbling Tupperware, in my head, and I thought, oh, well, there's that song, Tumbling Tumbleweeds, that old country song, and what if I do a tumbling Tupperware song about a cowboy of the kitchen? And yeah, I'm just thinking through the words. I'm an old domestic cowboy of the kitchen. If it's me that you seek, you'll find me there, far past the setting sun, where my chores are almost done, by the cabinet of the tumbling Tupperware. And then the second verse, that's the chorus, and the second verse, the hours after dusk I spend serenely, scrubbing and attending to my nest. As I go wandering room to room, or when I go wandering room to room for the last roundup, then you'll know that I'll be coming soon to rest. For that line, I was thinking, no, that's when I go around. There's a song called "The Last Roundup" as well, and another one kind of that deals with mortality, I guess. And I was thinking, when I go rounding up the last dishes, means I'm coming up to bed soon, but it also means maybe we're nearing the end of our thing here, the end of this round of dishes. Maybe this is the last round of dishes. I don't know, but I shouldn't talk about the words to that song very much, because I think they speak for themselves. The UPS Man Might Bring You Love. That's the next one. That song, the idea came into my head, and then the whole thing was recorded in, I think, like a half hour or something like that. I thought, oh, the UPS Man Might Bring You Love. That kind of made me laugh. And then the next line, the UPS Man Might Bring You Hugs and Kisses. I like, so the first line, the UPS Man Might Bring You Love. what does that mean exactly? Is he bringing you what kind of love? Is this platonic love? Is he bringing you just what kind of love is he bringing you? Is it his love that he's bringing or someone else's love? I don't know. But then the next line, the UPS man might bring you hugs and kisses. That kind of clears things up a little bit. So the UPS man, he might be bringing you hugs and kisses, so don't forget to answer the door. Just when you feel all alone, nobody home but you, the UPS man might knock on your door and take you down the avenue. So you're going with that UPS man, and then you'll go driving in his big brown truck, bouncing along in his big brown truck, handing people packages. You won't believe your luck. So now you're off with him. So don't forget to answer the door. Yeah, so I don't know. Each verse, excuse me, each verse in the song, I was kind of figuring out where it went just as it plays out in the song. That was the process of writing the song, if that makes sense. Where are we going next? Oh, that's where we're going. Oh, and now we're getting in the truck with the UPS man, and off we go. And I was kind of picturing myself with my head out the window, tongue hanging out of my mouth. I was kind of picturing myself as a little dog, maybe. Yeah, it might be. Song might be about a UPS man abducting a dog. That could be. I'm not sure. So let's see the next track here, From Among the Dead. So the title, first of all. So at some point while I was working on this album, I started thinking about Orpheus, because a few of the songs have lyrics that involve going down somewhere and coming back up again, and I was thinking, I'm kind of the Orpheus of the Midnight Kitchen, because I am at the kitchen at midnight singing my songs, eating a lot of midnight snacks, watching movies, doing dishes. I'm Orpheus of the Midnight Kitchen, I'm Orpheus the musician, but also I go back downstairs to get that sandwich, and then I bring it back upstairs with me. But I was thinking about the Orpheus myth, and I was thinking about the movie Vertigo, and I was thinking that there's something about Vertigo that seems kind of related to some of the themes, and seems like it might be related to Orpheus in some way. Anyway, I decided to maybe title this track based on Vertigo. So From Among the Dead, that's a translation of the French novel that the movie Vertigo was based on. So yeah, I thought, From Among the Dead, that'll be a good title for this one. And so musically, like when I was playing the piece, I had one of my hands was playing in the key of C, and one was playing in the key of F sharp. I forget what was which. I had like a bass thing going that was, I think, probably maybe just playing a fifth in one of those keys, and then the other hand was playing like a little melody. I think I was playing like C and G over on the left hand, and then playing on the black keys with my right hand, and that gives it a certain kind of sound. Gives it kind of like a nice little demented sound. Stravinsky and Bartók used to write some stuff like that. This kind of polytonal stuff where like you got one key going on and in one hand and another key going on in another hand, and when you have them a tritone apart like that, it has this nice effect. So anyhow, I was just playing around with that little idea with my mellotron sounds, and I got this sounds like it could be some resurrected dead bodies dancing around or something. I don't know. But from Among the Dead seemed like a good. I think at that point in the album there are too many of these cheery UPS man might bring you love kinds of songs. Everything's a little too happy. We needed something a little dark and spooky at that point. So then the next track, Northern Lights, is one I actually wrote. This one the day before the release party for my last album. Actually it was kind of a similar problem. So my last album, Isto on the Go, I had a release party where I was playing all these new songs from that album, and a few days before I was thinking, these songs are all too happy. I need something a little sadder, maybe a little spooky or something, and I came up with this song, Northern Lights. And the fiddle player who was playing with me, Ellie Goodman, I was like, here's another song, let's do this one too. It's not on the album, but it'll make the show a little more interesting, I think, if we throw this one in. But yeah, I finally got around to recording it for for this album. And let's see, changed a few of the words. So it's always good to change some words. A lot of the time I'll have a song, and then a few years later I'll be like, I'm going to change these words here. And so anyway, the next song, If I Only Knew the Meaning of My Dreams, I think this is the one that's had the most streams on Spotify, at least, and I think the most on YouTube as well, of ones from this album. And this song's got kind of an interesting story to it, I'd say. So I was working on the song. I put all the words together, the chords. I spent some time working on it. I liked it, and then I recorded it, and I listened to it, and I thought, that sounds really just pretentious, and I don't like it. And so I put it aside for a while. And then about a year ago, I was playing the song Mandy, There's a Minister Handy, the Irving Berlin song, and I made a YouTube video of that song. And I just did it really quickly. I didn't really care much about the song. It's just like, it's not the kind of song you have to take very seriously. And so I was free with it. I played with it, and it had a certain kind of freedom to it that I think it's always nice when you can get that in your music. And I listened to it, and I was like, I never get to this point with any of my own songs, because when I'm writing my own songs, I'm always trying to present them to people. I'm like, this is how this song goes. I have to show you how this song goes, and I have to let you know how it goes. So I'm not usually as free with my own songs, but I try to find ways to make myself be a little more free. And I thought, it's too bad I don't have any of these songs like Mandy. Like I don't write songs like that. And then I thought, well, why can't I do this same thing with some of my own songs? And I thought, well, I've got some songs here, and songs that I don't want to that I don't have to take too seriously. I can just kind of swing them, have fun with them. And I was like, I remember this one song I wrote about a year ago, If I Only Had the Meaning of My Dreams. And so I hit record, did one take of it. I filmed it while I was playing it, and I instead of playing as like kind of a pretentious folk song, I just played it as a jazzy kind of thing. I made up a little solo. I think it was one take, maybe two takes, and I listened to it and I thought, I really like that. That sounds good. And I think the lyrics are such that if you sing them like they're serious lyrics, they don't really work. But if you sing them like they're just you're having fun with them, then they do work, I think. So, and people seem to take to that one. So I think that's right. I think just listening to it, I think it's probably it might be the best sounding song on the album. Just the way it sounds, just the way I'm playing. I don't like the song itself as much as I like a lot of the songs, but I think by allowing myself that freedom to just I'll just play around with this song, and I think it came out better. So I think that's something I should try to do more. I should just have fun with my songs, rather than try to present them. So the next one, Facing the Three-Headed Cabbage. So yeah, that's another thing. Orpheus of the Midnight Kitchen. You got the three-headed dog in Hades. In the Midnight Kitchen, you got the three-headed cabbage. Carry Moonbeams, that's the next one. That's a song I worked on for a while. I spent a long time working on those lyrics, and I was really happy with how that one turned out. It really felt like a tour de force, I had this idea in my head for I had the idea for the song, and I kind of had an outline in my head for what I wanted each verse to do. And then I sat down and I wrote it out, and it worked just how I was hoping that it would, and I was very happy with how it turned out. Although I played it a few times, and I think sometimes people seem to like it, and sometimes it doesn't really land that well. Just kind of some of these songs, in my head they're great, but when you actually play them, they don't always you don't always carry the thing over, But yeah, Carry Moonbeams. So the next one, Long Goodbyes, that's another one that I worked on for a while. Spent a long time playing with those words. The bridge actually started out as another song, or another poem or something. I remember just going through and writing a bunch of these rhymes, and then I thought, oh, that can be the bridge for this song. I'll put that in there. but I was happy with the chorus for that. Life's just a series of long goodbyes till we braille our tail in shell and fossilize. Let's wrap ourselves in coffins and metamorphosize. You know, life's just a series of long goodbyes. Braille our tail in shale. I was really happy when I found that rhyme. Till we braille our tail in shale and fossilize. Let's wrap ourselves in coffins and metamorphosize. And I originally wrote that one at the piano. I remember spending a lot of time at the piano, but you know, when I sit down and try to record myself playing the piano, it's hard to make it sound as good as the guitar. I am more of a guitarist than a piano player, after all. Let's see, the next one, Syncopation Vacation. So that phrase popped into my head, Syncopation Vacation. And I thought, there's got to be an Irving Berlin song called Syncopation Vacation, and I looked it up. Didn't seem to be any songs called Syncopation Vacation, and there was something I was supposed to do that afternoon, but I ended up realizing that no, what I have to do is immediately write the song called Syncopation Vacation. This is my job here. It hasn't been done yet, so I must do this. And yeah. There's not much to the song. It's a little bit syncopated. Let's take a syncopation vacation if we can find the time. Let's take a syncopation vacation, dearest sweetheart of mine. We've been spending too many years just singing the same old song. Let's take an on-location syncopation vacation. Baby, let's go get gone. Yeah, and really, it seems like something Irving Berlin might have written in 1919 or something like that. 1917, perhaps. The next track on the album, Delaware Water Gap Waltz. So that's one that I wrote in 2017, I think. I think I wrote and recorded it back then, and my wife and her parents and at that point my one child Albert, before I had the other children, they went off to the Delaware Water Gap for a day and let me stay home and write music, and I ended up spending the whole day writing this one piece of music, and I called it Delaware Water Gap Waltz. And yeah, spent the whole day writing it out and then recorded it, and don't think I played it since, but I should go and learn it sometime. But yeah, it's all an instrumental guitar thing, a waltz. Yeah, I guess that's all I can say about it, really. The next song, Instagram Island. That idea came to my head at some point. It's always sunny on Instagram Island, and I decided to write kind of a Hawaiian song to go with that. And you know, I wrote two versions of it. One had kind of a straightforward bridge section, and then I thought, you know, I should make it a little more atonal, and I made the melody kind of a 12-tone row and put some weird chords in there, and that's the version on the album. But I should release the other version too, because you know, I think I've played the song on stage once, and I did the simpler version on stage. The other version I'd have to sit down and learn. You know, a lot of the songs I write I don't actually have to learn. I write them and they're just based on kind of the language they already know, and I don't have to like learn the chords or that kind of thing. But if I wanted to perform the bridge of Instagram Island as it is on this album, I'd have to sit down and learn it. Same thing with a piece like Delaware Water Gap Waltz. I can write it down and record it, but then if I want to go and perform it later, I have to like memorize it and that sort of thing. Ugh. Memorization. That's some work. So the next one, Who's That Coming Down the Chimney? So that's a song. I think that's the first song that I've written that I got to hear my children sing back to me. So I was working on that on the piano. I was playing it a lot in 2020 on the piano. I think my oldest child, he was really into the Three Little Pigs at the time, and you know, I think his interest in the Three Little Pigs had to do with the outside world being a little scary at that point. You know, we weren't going outside really, and we were stuck at home, and the big bad wolf was out there, and yeah, it was kind of a strange time, and he was interested in the Three Little Pigs, and so I ended up writing this song about, oh, who's coming down the chimney? Is it Saint Nick or the big bad wolf? Because I was thinking about it, and if somebody's coming down the chimney, who's it going to be? Which one of those folks will it be? I don't know. I'm hoping for Santa Claus, but it might be the big bad wolf. But yeah, my kids, both of my older kids, they both ended up liking that song, and they would sing it to me sometimes. Yeah, it's kind of a loud one too. When I play that at the piano, I bang the keys. And I never really got a recording of this one that I was happy with. Maybe someday I'll sit down and try to get it down. But I tried a bunch of times, and I decided, I need to have, like, even if it doesn't sound perfect, I need to have a version of this on this album, just because I owe it to my kids to have it there in case they ever want to find it later. So there it is. And the next song, Who's Paying for Lunch? Yeah. Yeah, I think I got that. I originally wrote it in a minor key. Who's paying for lunch? Who's paying for lunch? Well, Ven Venmo'd Mo and Mo Venmo'd Ven. Now they're both back where they started again. Who's paying for lunch? But then I switched it to kind of a bluesier kind of thing. I think I was thinking of a kind of a Dr. Seussy kind of thing. It seemed like it could have been in a Dr. Seuss story. This idea of Ven and Mo trying to Venmo each other. Oh, and then let's see. It's also got the there's no free lunch, so fill up before you go. There's no free lunch, so fill up before you go. Fill up before you go. I've been trying to work There's no free lunch, so load up on breakfast and dinner into a song for probably 20 years. That's something I had in a notebook maybe 20 years ago, maybe even longer ago. And I just, when there's no free lunch, load up on breakfast and dinner, but I couldn't figure out what else to do with it. And eventually I kind of got that line into this song. So you could say I've been working on that song for the longest of any of these, but really, in this form, it kind of came together pretty quickly. Orpheus of the Midnight Kitchen, so the title track on the album. So this one, I actually wrote this song the day after I submitted the album for digital distribution. I finished the album, clicked submit, I would finalize all that stuff, I'm all done. I think it was even that day. I finished it and I was like, all right, I'm all done. And then I had the title and everything. I had the title for the album, Orpheus of the Midnight Kitchen, and then I thought, wait a minute, I've got an idea for a song here, and I made up the whole story of of going down to the kitchen for the sandwich, and I thought, wait, if I take this story, going down to the kitchen, and I set it to the music of St. James Infirmary, and I call it Orpheus of the Midnight Kitchen. I like that song, but you know what? There's really only one album that should go on, and that would be the Orpheus of the Midnight Kitchen album. So I really need to stop this album from going out so I can put this song on there. So I stopped it, went down late at night and recorded it after everybody else was asleep. I think I might have even had a few scotches before I recorded that one. Usually I record sober, but this was I had to fit it in there, and yeah, so I added that at the very last minute. So the next one, Pantalon, that's one I was singing. That's another one that my kids like to sing. My kids now all know how to say pants in France, so and it's because of that song. You Turn Me On, I'm a Microwave. That title popped into my head. I thought that was pretty funny, and I worked it into this song. I think this song I kind of put a few ideas I'd had together into one song, just kind of crammed them all together. Don't know what the whole thing means, but Some people party by going out on weekends. I party by staying home. Some people socialize in great big groups. I prefer to be social alone. Oh, and then I walk to the kitchen, do the midnight dance. I visit the fridge in my underpants. Nobody knows, nobody sees, nobody knows but me. That's really the main part of the song. The rest of it's just a bunch of other stuff. I forget what the other stuff is. But duet for guitar and microwave popcorn. So I had the concept for that piece probably about 15 years ago, but I finally got around to rehearsing it and recording it about a year ago when I was making this album. Yeah, the idea is just put in a bag of popcorn and you play a note every time the popcorn pops. And yeah, I like that one. Sincerity Sells is the next one. Yeah, I like the words in that one. And I used a fuzz pedal, the Swollen Pickle fuzz pedal, which I had recently gotten. I used that on that song. I went to the basement, so that's just kind of a Thoreau parody. I took the text, some of the text from Walden, and just replaced the woods with the basement, and that kind of made me laugh. And I made a bunch of little sound effects with the Moog Werkstatt that my student gave me. And the car horns you hear at the beginning were recorded when I was making my previous album. I live across the street from an elementary school, and a lot of people, for whatever reason, a lot of people like to drop off their kids in their cars, and they all show up in their cars, and they're all angry at each other, and you just hear a lot of car horns at drop off and pick up time, and nobody has any patience, and they're all these cars, these awful cars, and you just hear all these car horns. But I happened to hear like a few of them making a nice chord together, and it was when I was recording another song. I think it was when I was recording "Don't Mansplain to My Wife," or one of the other songs from that last album, and I thought, oh, those three car horns make kind of a pretty chord. I'll have to use that recording for something else sometime later. And then I thought, oh, it fits kind of nicely at the beginning of this song. We're in the Basement was recorded by me and my two older sons when the older son's school went virtual for the second time. He was virtual pre-K. Now that's a rough thing there, but he was in virtual pre-K during 2020 and the beginning of 2021, and then the next year he was in person school, but then the cases were up at the end of 2021, and so at the beginning of 2022 they went virtual again for, I think it was a couple weeks, and so I ended up in the basement with I had some extra time with the kids in the basement there, and we recorded this song. We were just like playing around with instruments, and I happened to be recording things, and we ended up with a song. I posted it on Instagram, and then I thought, that would work well on this album. Go because there are all these things where you go down and then you come back up, and I went to the basement. We're in the basement. Got to have those songs next to each other, so that's why it's there. Watching Flowers Grow in Isolation. That's something I wrote in 2020 when the kids were out playing with my wife and I was down here working, and yeah, I was just thinking about so over the past few years I've had a lot of extra time with my young kids that I wouldn't have had if things hadn't shut down, and I've appreciated that, and it's been interesting, and yeah, I was feeling kind of emotional about watching my kids grow up one day, and I ended up just playing that on my guitar and working it out, and yeah, that's what that one's about. And the final track here. Okay, this is the oldest recording. So this I recorded in April. I recorded it on April 14th, 2000, in Notre Dame. So I've only been to Paris once. I would love to go again sometime. But the time that I went, I got to go to Notre Dame, and I was there with my French and Latin classes, and I think they said that you can't really take pictures. I forget if you're not allowed to take pictures inside, or if they just say they won't turn out because it's too dark, or I forget what the detail was. But I remember thinking, oh, I'll bring that little tape recorder in with me. So I just had a tape recorder in my pocket the whole time, and I walked around, and you just hear the sound of the room as you walk around, and I think they were tuning an organ while I was there, so you hear a little bit of that on the recording, and you can hear the voices of my classmates there, and you can hear a lot of footsteps, and the footsteps sound really nice walking around Notre Dame. And I recorded it, and it was something I thought, well, this is a fun, cool thing to be doing, recording inside Notre Dame, and I didn't really think about it too much until the incident with Notre Dame a few years ago, and I thought, oh, I should dig up that old recording I made, and so I found that, and I posted it online, shared it with some of my friends, and I thought, man, this is a really beautiful piece. I just thought it sounded really nice, the sound of my pocket in Notre Dame, and I thought, I'm glad that I was smart enough to do something like that at that time, in the year 2000. So at that time, I guess I think I was 16. Yeah, I turned 17 that year. Yeah, so I was 16. And I was smart enough to bring a tape recorder and record the inside of Notre Dame, but I wasn't smart enough to think that I should put that on an album until my last album. So finally got smart enough to do that, and I just tacked it on at the end. A lot of the time, there are a lot of albums where they put like kind of the more out there kind of thing, or the longer, more out there kind of music at the very end of the album. And I think some people enjoy listening to stuff like that, but probably most of the people that listen to my music, they probably don't go there to listen to 15-minute recordings of Notre Dame. I don't know. Maybe most of you do like that sort of thing, but I certainly do. So that's one track that I enjoy listening to. Yeah, so that's how all these recordings came together. And what else can I tell you? Oh, the album cover. I had a photo. I took a still from a video I made a while ago, a promotional video for my Patreon page. There was a part where I opened the fridge and talk into the fridge is kind of a silly thing, and I took a still from that video and used that's the picture you see on the cover. And then I just did a bunch of little doodles, and while I was doing, I just doodled on a piece of paper, and my son, he took a piece of Play-Doh that he was playing with and just stamped that down on top of the paper, and I thought, oh, that's nice there too. And I took a picture of it, put the photograph of me reaching into the fridge, and that's how the album cover came about. Anyway, I don't know why any of you would care to listen to me talk about all this, but I kind of just felt like doing it before I forget all this stuff. So something I always like listening to other people talk about these sorts of things, and I've forgotten the stories about how all my older songs came around, so I thought I should do it with this one, with these ones before I forgot all about it. And I'm sure there are a lot of things I forgot to say. Maybe I'll do a part 2 of this with all the things that I forgot to say in part 1. But yeah, working on some new music now. And I've got a whole bunch of other songs from those years that I haven't recorded yet. So you'll see some more music from me at some point soon, hopefully. And yeah, I hope you're all doing well. And oh yeah, and this video was brought to you by Songwriting with Isto, an 8-week online course. So go sign up now. And have a good day there in your midnight kitchen.